you, the Messiah. No offense, Perdre, but that has got to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Why not me?
Have you met yourself? Perdre, you drink, you fight, you like to break people's arms just to hear the sounds they make.
Well, howdy, pilgrims, and thanks for tuning in to Season 4 of Preacher vs. Preacher. It's a comparison companion, where each week we get together, and not only do we recap AMC's Preacher, but we directly compare it to the comic from the 90s it's based on, by Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. Who are we, quote-unquote, the we? I'm Bill Sweeney. You might know me from the Wicked Theory podcast. If you don't, that's fine. Across the table, you've met him already. He's back again. Edward O'Hare from the DC TV Report. That's a podcast. It's like a sister show. You should be checking that out if you watch DC TV live action stuff.
Hello.
That's him. That's not his real accent, but that's what he's going to use for the rest of the episode now.
Oh, all right. We have a challenge here. All right.
I hate it already.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, man. And part of me was like, could I really? No, can't do it. No, couldn't sit through that.
I was willing to try it. I was willing to try it, boss.
You were giving me the classic yes and.
Yeah.
You were yes-anding me.
Yes.
But thanks for coming back. Thanks for sitting in my house and watching Preacher with me.
Oh, anytime, bud.
All right. Well, just once a week. Well, this week twice.
Yeah.
Because we did our little James Bonding. Our little Ed Bonds with Bill. That's a thing we do over on our Preacher account. Check us out. I'm not on Preacher account.
Patreon
It's called. Too many P's. Too many P's in this podcast of P-related things. Mm-hmm. Patreon.com/Wicked Theory. That's me and Ed. We go through the James Bond films. He loves them. I like them. We're trying to figure out what's the happy place.
Yeah. Monday you'll get to hear us talk about The Living Daylights.
The fact that you can even sing that's somewhere in your...
Well, I'm glad we watched it, so I never have to listen to Aha ever again.
Oh, I doubt that. It'll pop up somewhere. Not that song, but you'll get Take On Me and some other, random B-side that they had.
Norwegians.
They're good for pop.
Yes.
I guess.
Yes. Almost as dangerous as Canadians.
Well, that's a whole different story, though, folks. Ed's love-hate relationship with Canada. It's a many-layered thing.
No.
Long-term Wicked Theory fans might remember.
It's not the country; it's the people.
Yeah, I feel like that's the problem here in America too. Anyway, it's not the ideas; it's the people who talk about them. All right, so since you're here, we don't have to do a lot with you. We don't have to set you up really. You are reading through the books that now, as you were sitting here earlier waiting for me to finish up with some stuff I was doing, you actually finished book.
Seven. Volume 7.
Volume 7.
The one titled Salvation.
Salvation, named after a little town. A little town that Jessie pops up in.
A little town in Texas.
That we may never see on this show.
Yeah, well,
I mean, the way it's running.
I think there are elements of it. I mean, the big bad in that was...
it was Quincannon.
Yes, Quincannon, the big bad, who was the big bad in season 1.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Interesting how they moved that around.
Yeah, they really did some shifting.
But I would not be surprised if Jessie gets to meet his mom again.
Yeah, it would be interesting because in that chapter, in that storyline, a lot goes on. Jesse's lost his eye. He's a sheriff. He's got a dog.
Yeah.
He's got a deputy.
Yeah.
He finds his mother basically, and the way that they're kind of hodgepodging the show, like it is possible that's some elements from that could pop up.
But this episode...
Well, I guess if you want to get into it, Ed, we could.
Yeah, well, one thing I will say that I think is relevant to this episode that we might not have covered is that I grew up a good little Catholic boy.
Oh, is that going to come into play this week?
My parents is church every Sunday, kind of, that kind of family.
Sure.
So this show's always had a
It's messing with reaction. It's playing with some concepts.
That's why I was not originally a fan of this book.
Yeah.
And they played kind of fun and loose with it. And this episode in particular was one where it was really like, all right.
This is what we're going to do.
I may even be able to buy in that God's a bad guy, but you're actually going to make Jesus a character. Like the real Jesus.
Yeah.
Ooh, Okay.
All right. Let's hold off. Official business out of the way. People, find us wherever you find good podcasts. You can find Ed and the DCTV Report at DCTV Report on Twitter. Find them wherever good podcasts are given away for free. Also, Stitcher, Spotify. I was about to say Spitcher. Not a thing. Not yet, but maybe we should. Maybe we should get that going.
Oh, man, maybe.
Spitcher with no ER, just ends with R.
Yes. Yes.
Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeart, all of those, radio.com. It's everywhere.
Yeah. And this week I will be covering Preacher on that show.
That's true.
Also, Pennyworth is running right now, the episode that just dropped the day we're recording this turned out to be the series finale of Krypton.
Oh man, that show was so.
Rest in peace.
It was definitely a show. It was definitely there.
Yeah.
Hey man, they tried to pull Lobo in way too late in the game.
Yeah, no Lobo, no show.
That's my thing.
And it turns out no Lobo show.
No Lobo show either. No hope for anything spinning out of that.
Yep. Sci-fi was real
Krypton
quick.
dies again.
Yep.
So anyway, you can hear Ed and Sarah Netzley talk about all that good stuff over there. Send us an email at pvp@wickedtheory.com if we're getting things wrong, if we're getting things right, if you want to blow smoke up our ass, if you want to just tell us how terrible we are. I mean, we'll take them either way.
Okay. Just with the whole smoke thing, just go over the logistics with me first, because I just want
the logistics of like where we're going to do it. Or like the mechanics, like how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's tube related.
No, don't
hoses.
Don't tell me now, because you're not the one doing it.
Fair enough. Well, I'm certainly not a registered professional for that. Spoiler warning, kids. As we roll forward here, it's time. If you haven't read the books, just a heads up. Obviously, because we were already talking about it, giving stuff away, like Jessie's mom. That we're going to spoil stuff from the books, and that could potentially spoil stuff for the shows. So. Be good with that.
Yes.
Get over it or move along. That's fine too. But come back because we're desperately in need of any attention whatsoever.
Yes.
I'm needy. And I guess that's it really for the preamble stuff.
Okay. Ready to dive right in?
I think so. But I went through it so fast now, I feel like I probably forgot something. It's like when you run out of your house and you're like checking your pockets. And it's like keys, phone, wallet, do I have everything?
All right, take a minute. Calm down. Calm down. You don't need to speak because I'll vamp through this moment. So just take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Visualize. Visualize what you want this show to be. And then think, is there anything that you forgot? And the answer is no, so we're moving on. All right.
Yeah, sounds good. I forgot the bell thing.
No,
that's it. And the other bell thing. If we hear anything from the books, we ring that bell. New stuff gets added.
Okay.
Don't have an anti-bell really, but if it kind of comes up, I'll pull up the old buzzer sound effect. So there's that. All right, getting situated, getting my paper out. Ed's knocking over a stack of crystal vases, family heirlooms, each one worth over $3,000 a piece. There were 17. Ed, you owe me money. So, oh shit, he brought out the real reference material.
Yeah, I told you to have this, and then you just like picked it up and then put it away.
I thought you told me to take a look at it or something.
No, I meant so like if.
All right.
Okay.
You found it. So this episode that we're kind of doing here is episode 4 of season 4, Search and Rescue. And it starts out with Herr Starr and God. And, Starr is kind of just lamenting that he didn't get Jessie. And what he really wants to do to him is carve a vagina into Jessie, into his head.
Yes.
Which just sounds messy and complicated, and I don't think he has the artistic flair for it, but whatever. And, that's all great and good. God gets a good laugh out of that. But God really just wants to know about Humperdew. And what's the deal with Humperdew?
Yeah, man, where's my kid?
Where's my, but he says that. And Herr Starr says, Jesus Christ is on his way. He goes, no, my other kid.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes by you real quick. That Herr Starr teases up that we're going to see Jesus Christ later on. Yeah. So he's like, yeah. Humperdoo's fine. He's great. And then God mentions that, well, he's really important. Like, he's integral to the plan.
Oh. Okay.
And the plan that we still don't really know, even coming out of this episode, what it really is. Mm-hmm. I mean, we do learn it's basically the apocalypse.
Yes.
But, I don't know, it seems like a crazy thing to do. Well, maybe not, if it's a joint operation between heaven and hell.
Yes. I will say, for fans of the Amazon series Good Omens, it's based on the book by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett, it's interesting to see some very vague parallels here, where the one thing about the apocalypse is that both heaven and hell are in agreement that it's going to go down.
Yeah, and
it's
and we have to like work on it together somehow.
Yes,
like you know, it needs both of us really.
Yes, the banal corporate nature of this is really, you know,
even more at play than in Good Omens.
Yes.
But what I do like about the idea from all standpoints, that like it kind of makes sense, even like in biblical biblicalness of what really is in those books and in those things, that it seems like that's probably how it would have to go. Yeah. Like, you know, like there'd be some kind of agreement made, or somebody would piss somebody else off, and it would kind of all echo out of that. It feels kind of fitting in a way.
Yeah.
Biblically speaking. Mm-hmm. But he's integral. But if you do this right, basically, God says, I'll reward you with your good looks.
Yes.
I'll clean you up. I'll fix that ear, more or less. I'll take that penis slit out of the top of your head. Mm-hmm. You know, we'll spruce you up.
Yeah.
And Herr Starr gets a little, you know, visibly, you can see, like, he reacts to that. Yeah. Like, yeah, that's definitely what he wants.
Yeah.
You know, we'll basically, but God's like, you know, yeah, we'll put a vagina in Jessie's soul. And Herr Starr's like, well, that's not exactly what I said. But, you know, he's like, look, God's like, just shut up. My great design is coming, and it's going to be a thing of beauty. Mm-hmm. And, you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of where that ends. And then we jump to Jessie on the plane, and the plane's going down.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. And God is there, laughing in the seat next to him. Pretty much. And he's kind of done up like a hippie a little bit.
Yeah.
But it crashes in the ocean, and, you know, Jessie and the pilot.
Yes, still pantsless.
In a raft. Jessie kind of gets into it, screaming at the sky, basically screaming, this is the best you got? Like, this isn't going to stop me, you know? And it's kind of where that scene ends. Mm-hmm. We roll into the credits.
Yeah, we get credits.
We get some credits. Come back from the credits. And then with Cassidy at Masada still.
Yes.
This is like the storyline that will not end.
No.
And thank God, from looking at the previews for next week, it looks like they finally kind of get out of there. Mm-hmm. For a show that had 10 episodes left, I did not think it would take this long to get them out of there.
Yeah. So Frankie Toscani is escorting Cassidy out of the dungeons, and Cassidy's all, you know, He's got the face mask, and he's tied to the
hand truck.
Yes, and he's quoting Hannibal Lecter.
It's a very Hannibal Lecter thing. They're not avoiding it at all. They're like just fucking leaning into it.
Mm-hmm. You're a rube.
Yeah, you're a rube. You know, and he's Toscani says something like, yeah, you know, if Doctor, what I don't know. He's got a reference offhandedly about it too. But they don't shy away from it either, like a little bit later, because he's like, you know, are the lambs silent yet? You know? But yeah, so he's stopped in the hall. They're stopped in the hallway because the emissary is coming.
Oh yes,
the emissary's arrived.
Well, because remember, there's two emissaries.
Yes,
so this is the one.
This is the first one we see. Yeah,
this is the one from hell.
This is the one from hell.
Yes,
and it's Hitler.
Yep.
Which, you know, even if he wasn't in charge, it seems like the guy you would probably send. Yeah. And so Toscani's kind of distracted by that as, you know, a fleet of guys kind of go by with Hitler. And then when Toscani turns back around, Cassidy's there by himself. And it turns out he's picked the lock with the feather and killed the two guys that were flanking him.
Yeah.
And then really kicks Toscani's ass and shoves the gun up there too.
Ooh, yes. This was.
How you feeling about this one, buddy?
Man, this was really trying.
It goes quite far. It's kind of funny. I get it, but it's like it's so over the top, and it's like it's just one of these things. It's just wanton. You know what I mean?
At first, it's the kind of thing where, like, I understand Cassidy's upset.
I get it, buddy. You're a little mad.
You know, and this is righteous anger we're talking about here. But like, does it go to a certain point where when it comes to revenge, you're like, not only I can't just kill you, I've got to rip down your pants and fist you.
I mean,
and I'm like, oh, he's getting way too into it. And then you realize that it wasn't just his hand going up there.
Yeah. And
you see this pop and blood shoot out of the top of Toscani's head. And you're like, what is that? And then they pull to the wide shot, and you realize, oh, man. Oh.
Cassidy. But, yeah, you know, it's like, I get it. Do you remember how he dies in the comic, in the Toscani?
Well, he's gunned down, I think.
I think he's just, it's just during the craziness of everything going on, right? Because at the same time, Cassidy's escaping, it's like, I think, there's a full-on... Or somebody gets him with a gun. Yeah. But anyway, so he shoves a gun up his ass and props him up so that he could stand, which was nice. It's a lot. It's a bit of a lot. But not too much. I mean, don't get me wrong. This show wants to be gory at times, but it just feels over the toppy for over the top sake. Yeah.
Basically, I'm looking at the Proud American storyline, and Jessie uses the word to make Toscani miss, and then he punches him in the face and tosses him off a balcony, and he breaks his neck when he hits the ground.
Yeah, pretty basic.
Yeah. I will say this is probably more satisfying. This is a more satisfying way.
Not for you. I mean, for you, not as satisfying for Cassidy, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Cassidy needed to go over the top.
Yes, and I think it's. For the show, I think it's better for Cassidy to be the one who takes out Toscani rather than Jessie.
Oh, yeah. Like, that's the one thing, like, here, that Cassidy gets his just desserts, at the very least. But, all right, moving on from that, tell your parents to check out this show. Yeah, they'll love it. That he kicks Toscani's ass and shoves a gun up there. Then we go to Jessie, the pilot, and now they're bailing out the raft. The raft is kind of slowly filling up, and
the pilot's he's a bit of a Debbie Downer.
Yeah. And Jessie's like, look, we survived a crash. This is a miracle. How does this happen? And he's pretty much a downer. And Jessie uses the word, and he's like, be positive. And as usual. It's so literal, and that starts a chain of...
He's like, come on, partner, let's get out of here.
Let's bail. You know what I mean? And he's like, what are you doing? Shampooing your hair? You done with that yet? Come on. He was like, way too into it. And I was like, oh, this is going to get annoying. Jesse's going to fucking have to turn this off.
It's weird because, like, this pilot's my guy. This is
a pretty good dude.
He's like one of the characters I identify with in this show.
Well, what's funny is, like, he feels like a 70s kind of idea of a pilot.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Yes. Like, if he was like, bro, I did 2 tours in Vietnam, saved a whole squadron of children or something. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, like, have you ever met an airline pilot?
No.
Like, are there that true blue kind of guy? Like,
well, they're more former military. You know
like,
what I mean?
Well, like Sully Sullenberger, where it's just even keeled. I think positively, and it's like my job is so stressful.
Right.
There's so much going on that for me to take in any of that would be counterproductive.
Oh yeah.
So
it's the kind of guy you need in a position like that.
Yeah, just don't worry about it.
Yeah. He's got it under control.
Yeah.
He's cocksure. But even he was kind of being broken by being on this raft, which was, he's got quite the story arc this week.
Yes.
So they start bailing out with the water, and then we go to Cassidy, back to Cassidy. He's kind of like milling around. He's kind of gotten away, So he's like, the elevator opens, Tulip's in there. And just as, they play the fucking lovey-dove music for him, whenever he sees Tulip, Featherstone from around the corner she can't see Tulip in the elevator. She puts the gun to Cassidy's head.
Yes.
She holds him there.
Great bit of editing here.
Yeah.
Great bit of direction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like, I liked it how with the camera you could kind of tell what was going on.
Yeah.
But there was a point where now all the guards rush up, and I'm like, they can't see her in there. Like, I was like, guys, I know you're trying to fudge the eye line, but
they're all behind Featherstone. You know?
Well, I don't know. We could go back. I feel like on the second watch, I noticed it for sure. But anyway, so those doors open, and they have this exchange where basically, as Cassie is looking at Tulip and talking about Tulip, like codedly to Tulip and to Featherstone, she's like, why would she come back for me? That's kind of stupid. And she's like, well, she is stupid. She's like, yeah, she is. She's super stupid. But the doors close, and so they take Cassidy. The doors open back up, and then Tulip comes out with the gun, and it's like a little late. They're gone. Yeah. And that's all we really get.
Well, and then Hoover, too.
Oh, that's right. And he's like, yeah, come with me. Yeah. And she's like, oh, no, what's going on? I don't know if you heard last week's episode, Ed, but from Twitter, someone said that it was a real missed opportunity not to call him Tuver.
Oh, okay.
Hoover, too. Tuver. So sometimes in my notes, I just write Tuver. So we go back real quick. Cassidy gets thrown in the cell again, and the door gets closed, but Featherstone goes like down the hallway, tucked away in a nook with some guys, and she's like, now we wait.
We just sit and wait.
We sit and wait because we know that fucking bitch is going to come back for him, which is a good call, which is a good plan on her part. Yeah. So then we go to Tulip. Tulip gets pulled in for valet duty.
Ah, yes, she's gonna be the valet.
Basically a chaperone of sorts.
For the emissary from heaven.
Right, which they play with you. At first, I was waiting for Hitler to walk out because I'm like, well, I already know about him. Yeah. And I'm like, and I wasn't expecting Jesus Christ himself to come walking out. Now, they kind of fuck with us a little bit with that too as it goes on, but that's the stinger for that scene, for that moment. We go back to Cassidy and the Angel. Cassidy knows that Featherstone's plan, basically. He knows it's kind of a setup. It's a trap. They're going to just lie in wait. And then Cassidy's like, I'm going to... Because the Angels and him are going back and forth a little bit. And he's like, don't worry. When I get my chance, I'm going to fucking kill you. And in my head, I'm like... They rarely say things like that on the show, then have them not happen. The show sets up a lot of things from dialogue like that. When people kind of our heroes challenge somebody out, that shit almost always comes through. Or a heavy attempt is made.
At this point, do you want to talk about in the books?
Sure.
The Archangel.
Yeah, let's get into it.
There, in the books, the storyline that they haven't touched on yet is one of the parents of Genesis.
Yeah, that's technically the father. I forget his exact name, but it seems like they're either holding it back, or they're leaving it out. But I bet they're holding it back because if, by the end of this, him and Cassidy take off together. Yes. And so if we're going to telegraph it out, extrapolate out to what they might do with it,
Yeah, and you do have there is a point where he's telling him, oh, it's my best friend's girlfriend, and the Archangel's response is, oh, a forbidden love. Yeah, that's the best kind.
Yes, which is telling, which is revealing.
Yes, because Genesis was created because it was the offspring between an angel and a demon.
Yeah, we just can't have that around. But then in the books, he had fallen to earth. I think, was he cast out, or did he just fall from the, or was he trying to get down there?
No. He was cast out, and then Grail swoops him up.
Right, and has just held him since 1984. Because I was thumbing through it, too. I saw that.
Yeah, and held him. And then, in the books, God actually comes down to Masada and torches the Archangel.
Right. He's like, enough of you.
Yes.
And just sets him ablaze.
Yes.
Which is an interesting thing in the book, like, that... Like, God, I guess, could just light anybody on fire in the book. And, like, you would think he would do that more often just to kind of solve some problems. So, basically, Cassidy, rather, makes that promise. And then we go back to Jessie and the pilot. And the pilot looks like shit.
Man.
Like, real quick. And I just want to say, as it goes on, all I can keep thinking is, like, this guy is burning up, and Jesse's fucking fine.
Well, I think it's also just because he's just sitting there doing nothing, admiring the sun. And,
he is kind of like just basking.
And then you look down, and his legs, which, he doesn't have any pants on, they're exposed, and they are just burned raw. And you realize, like, oh, no, he's going through, like, heat stroke right now.
Yeah.
This guy's about to die. Yeah. And Jessie's, like, rummaging through the first aid kit.
Well, don't get me wrong. He probably does have fairer skin. He seems like he might have some Irish blood in him, that guy.
Yeah.
You know? He might just be more susceptible to it. But I'm like... at one point, I'm like, Jesse's nose isn't even getting red, or his cheeks aren't even getting, like, a little bit burned or tinged. And I feel like, you go so far out of your way to make that one guy look like it.
Yeah.
You don't bother to do it with Jesse. Mm-hmm. Is that just because you don't want to for continuity?
He was getting a tan. He was getting it. I think also just because he kept moving. I think that might have helped a little bit.
All right. I'm going to let it go. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to choose to let it go. Mark this day down. Okay? So with that, chaperone duty for her, Jessie did pilot, stop being positive. Yeah, so their exchange during this whole sequence is really that being positive gets on Jesse's nerve.
Yes.
And then he goes, stop being positive, which doesn't help because then he starts freaking the fuck out. Like all of a sudden, like he can actually feel the pain like he couldn't before, but he's just over freaking about it.
Yes.
And then Jessie tells him, "Feel no pain."
Yes.
With the word of God.
Yes.
And that it's all going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Just believe in me.
Yeah. Well, this is a test from God.
Yeah.
And of course,
what if I don't believe in God?
Yeah, he's having a crisis of faith.
Sure.
He says, you don't have to believe in God; just believe in me.
Right.
And
we know how that turns out. Yeah, secondary characters really don't fare well on this show.
First commandment, man. First commandment.
What was that one again? For those who may not be...
Thou shalt not have gods before me.
Oh, yeah, that's his big one. Mm-hmm. You're all fucked, is what that means.
I am the God, the one God, yes.
Gotcha. So Tulip and Cassidy... Tulip and Jesus Christ, rather.
Just say Jesus.
It becomes Jesus. Starr doesn't really recognize Tulip at first when he comes to the room. He kind of blows right past her. And, he's so intent on getting to talk to the emissary, Jesus,
yes,
that he kind of blows past her, which was a little bit of a stretch. Mm-hmm. But then again, they've kind of done that before with Herr Starr, where, like, he's too absorbed in himself and his missions, and sometimes he doesn't catch...
Yeah.
The things he should.
And also, he didn't have that much direct interaction with Tulip. He was all about Jessie. And
that's true.
And a lot of times he was pulling Jessie aside when Tulip wasn't around.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he might not have seen her since, like, season 2.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, he breezes right past her. But when he's leaving... They have an exchange, basically it's like, well, what are we going to do? Then Starr's like, okay, we're good, I'm leaving. And he kind of almost does finally notice her. He stops. He's like, where do I know you from? And she's like, well, I don't think you know me.
Food court,
maybe, but Jesus, being the good guy that he is.
Yeah.
He saves her a little bit. Like, he's curious. He sees that she's in trouble,
Yeah. And by the way, where's my descendant?
Yeah, where's that offspring? I heard he's a great dancer. He's quite the dancer, and so Starr's like, oh yeah. He'll be. We've got that covered. He's coming. He'll be around. And then did I skip a little bit? Here's quite the dancer.
No,
okay, then so Starr ends up leaving. Mm-hmm. Hoover 2 is prepping the room for the summit.
Yes.
And Starr enters and wants to know about the replacement for Humperdoo. How's that coming? Mm-hmm. And he's not ready, but we'll get whatever we got. It'll be ready in time.
Yes.
Hoover 2 then kind of like goes through this little thing of boosting Starr's ego. He sees that he's a little deflated or preoccupied, and he's like, man, you've got it, buddy. You're the good one. You're sitting pretty.
Yeah.
You're
Rick Dalton.
You got this. You can do it. And then pretty much it's easy breezy. So from there...
No, easy breezy's bad.
Oh, okay.
poor Easy Breezy.
Oh, poor Easy Breezy, because the guy's name was Easy Breezy,
Yes.
so we feel bad for Easy Breezy.
Yes.
I keep forgetting. Kids, if you haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you have no idea what we're talking about.
You don't want to be Easy Breezy. You want to be Rick fucking Dalton.
That's true. That's true. So with
You're Rick Dalton. Don't you forget it.
I'm trying not to. Okay, it's hard. This business. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then.
All right. So basically, he boosts up his Star's ego, and he's like, "I put the packet on your desk." We open up the packet. It's the pamphlet for this big summit, and it's about the apocalypse 2020.
Yeah, and it lays out the plan.
It lays out the plan and the agreements.
Step 1: initiate.
Put some people in positions of power.
Yeah.
Typical. Conspiracy giant or world domination planning. You put people in positions of power that you control into every government. Yeah. And that's just page 1.
Yeah, and if things couldn't get any worse, all of a sudden the
appendage,
the foreskin that is hanging off of what used to be Star's ear, just falls right off of him.
The grossest part about that is that when the camera comes to it, like it's still settling.
Yes.
Like it does this like soft, like kind of it comes to a rest. Like,
and he just scrapes it off like a booger.
Yeah.
And right underneath is a picture of Jessie Custer.
That's pretty fucking convenient. It's pretty foreshadowing. But that was gross. Yeah. That was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
Just a bit. Just a bit.
You know what?
Yeah.
After having the shotgun up Tiscani's ass, this one didn't seem that bad.
You didn't see that bad? You were a little desensitized by that point?
I mean, why not?
I mean, Okay, so he's sitting pretty.
Yeah.
Except for the ear falling off. Jesse's back to Jessie and the raft and the pilot. Jessie has now made a sail.
Yes.
Somehow, but they don't get specific. But basically, he's like, well, my girlfriend is handy, so I'm handy.
Yeah.
That's kind of how he writes it off. He's like, my girlfriend, Tulip, once made a landmine out of root beer and a car battery or some shit.
It's a lawnmower.
A lawnmower and root beer.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so that doesn't transfer. It's not a virus. Okay, so the pilot's like, oh, man, you're pretty handy. But the pilot is really not handy at all because he left his hand hanging over the side.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Then he pulls it up.
And it's just a stump. It's just a bloody stump. Oh. He's like, oh, man, I didn't feel that. Why didn't I feel that? And Jesse's like, oh, well, I told you not to. I used my power on you. And since it always has some kind of bad consequence, you didn't feel anything. Which is probably, for the best.
Yeah. And then, of course, because Jessie did not secure that sail at all.
Oh, yeah.
Even with the wind, it just blows right off.
It just blows right off, which, again, gets Jessie yelling at God. Like, how damn you? Basically. Then we cut back to Tulip and Jesus. And Tulip says what I think is one of the funniest lines in the show. She's like, look, you seem like a super nice person, obviously. Like, I mean, duh. You're a nice guy and all, but this isn't made for you. Like, super nice person and all, obviously. Because, Jesus wants to help.
Yeah.
And she's like trying to rebuke it a little bit. Like, I don't think this is for you. She's like, what I want to do is, it's going to be some bad news. It's going to be some, how does she say it? It's going to be a jailbreak. Things are going to get ugly.
Yeah.
But he's like, well, you never know. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And,
at this point, I turned to you and I was like, all right, this is testing the line right here.
And I totally agreed.
Jesus is a character. This is already kind of...
Yeah.
But
are we going to make him like a ass-kicking killer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're going to... this is... Am I going to have to live through another battle pope?
Well, don't blame Robert Kirkman. He learned his lesson. He moved away from that. It got him attention, and then he moved away. But I do wonder if, exposure to this crew will start to ruin Jesus. If it would start to have its effect, look, we saw the preview for next week.
Yes.
He's running around with them. He becomes the fourth wheel.
Yes.
Of sorts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's always, with the what if the Savior was born in the Oakland slums?
You know what I mean? It's like a what if that Marvel put out back in the days or something.
No,
what if Jesus was born today?
No, it's not. But Jesus did meet Swamp Thing. You
look,
that?
Hey, Muhammad Ali met Superman. You don't see me bringing it up. All right, if we're talking about gods. All right, here we go. It's a jailbreak, but he wants to help. So we cut to Cassidy and Featherstone, her men, Featherstone and her men are waiting. One of them, they're like talking, like in the back, like, oh man, I didn't know we were gonna stand here this long.
I don't know.
I gotta pee. Real bad. And then she just stabs him. Yeah. She shanks him.
Just knifes him like straight. He's like, all right. I just went just now in my pants.
I'm good. So we cut to now the Featherstone of the crew kind of walking now down the hallway. I guess this whole thing made her be like, fuck it, let's just go. And as they come around the corner, Jesus. Every time it says Jesus, I want to say Jessie in here because my handwriting is like that messy.
I know.
He wants to, Tulip's like, hey, Featherstone's like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, no, I want to go bless the prisoners.
Yeah.
Which is a very Jesus-like thing to do.
Exactly.
He's all about blessing those who need.
Yes.
And so she's not having it. She's like, no. You can't do that. She's like, you can't come through here. She lies to him. She's like, oh, no, no.
This is just a training place.
This is a training place. There's no prisoners. They're on the other side. We should bring you over there.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then you hear...
You're Cassidy. I'm right fucking here.
He's yelling at the angel, shut the hell up. I said shut up. And she's like, oh, fuck. So Featherstone is just not letting him by. She's like, you just can't go by.
She touches him.
She puts her hand on him.
She puts her hand...
on Christ himself.
Yeah, and says... No, get out of here.
And leaves a big bloody handprint on him that is now looks like a symbol or some way for us to keep straight which one is which in an episode of Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
Like that's what I felt like it was.
Jesus now looks like he was initiated into the Powhatan tribe in Pocahontas.
Right. Hey, I think they would have let him in. All right. She's not letting him by, so they do a smash cut where he goes right back to Tulip, and he's like, it didn't work. But again, it's true to character. He's like a super nice guy.
Yes, and
Jesus is a super nice guy.
And this I do appreciate. I do appreciate this.
I found a subtitle for the episode, by the way. Give me your pen. It's a super nice guy. Super nice guy. That is really sloppy. Okay, so anyway, so he couldn't make it work. And he could only get so bold.
I bet you this is the first time that's ever happened to Jesus.
Someone knew who he was and still told him no.
Yeah.
Well, I do wonder, how if he has any, what his abilities are. If he has any, kind of, does he have? Didn't he, after the resurrection, didn't he have some kind of things, miracles he was doing left and right?
Oh, we're doing this?
Well, I'm just saying.
There were miracles that he performed.
I'm just trying to say, if, there's certain abilities and things he did, historically or in the Bible, then we could see him do them here at some point.
He raised...
What's his power set?
Yeah. He raised Lazarus from the dead.
Right.
He made lame men walk. He made blind men see.
Yeah. Good stuff.
He turned water into wine.
Right.
He walked on water.
Sure. I'm just trying to, it's like Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just trying to fill out this card.
He fed 5,000 people with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish.
It was 2 fish?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
That's the one I'm having trouble with.
Yeah. Yes. No, I'm just kidding. 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish.
Oh, now it's all right. Now it makes sense to me. But what I was going to say to you earlier is, as far as them making him a character, I still don't know, depending on where it goes, if it's his, American Gods did it first. So I know I don't know if you watched American Gods.
I watched the first season and then a couple episodes of the second season.
I don't know if it was the end of season 1 or the beginning of season 2.
Oh, well, yeah, when you show up, it's Easter.
And it's like all these different versions of Jesus.
Yes.
Because that's how gods work on that show.
Yes.
It's like you can have kind of all these different interpretations, therefore different variations and instances.
Yes, and I thought that was clever.
Sure. Oh, yeah. They didn't really kind of push it to any place, really. And I feel like even here on Preacher, they haven't pushed it yet.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
But I got my eye on you.
That's a capital Y-E-T.
Yes.
Yet. Hard period.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then, where are we, Ed? Tell me where we are.
So then Cassidy, if basically Jesus told Tulip it didn't work.
Right, and then, now we go to Cassidy, and he's pulling on the chains.
And, he finally...
He pulls on the chains to the point where they pull the meat off of his hands, and he manages to get out of the shackles.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's Saw.
Yeah, it's Gerald's game.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen Gerald's game.
Yeah, and those hands grow back pretty quick.
Yeah, so he's all right, and that's his usual go-to. I thought they were gonna snap off because the way it was just kind of looking.
I think that's what happened.
Maybe
like that's what happened, and the new hands just sprouted right out.
It would have been too quick. I think it was that the skin, because I looked pretty good.
For him to just
slip out, and the wetness of it all, and now his hands being just that much smaller. I think.
Well, either way,
gross.
He was yes,
grody.
Yes, and he's nimble enough to climb up that tower to the Archangel.
You forget he's like that, too. Like, he's got that quick lightning speed stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But they show him scamper up there like something out of The Exorcist. Mm-hmm. Really chomps the heck out of fucking the angel there.
Yeah.
Papa Bear.
Mm-hmm.
And then doesn't matter because he's an angel. So 2 seconds later, zoom, he comes back,
opens the door,
and he's like, you could have just untied me.
Yeah.
And then the angel grabs him, and they fly up through the top of the tunnel, tower, or pit, which way you want to call it, the holding cell.
Yeah.
They fly up and away. Jessie and the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
The pilot's like, man, I thought I'd die some other way. Not on a raft, with no hand and no pants. But it is what it is. So he starts to get into it with Jessie where he's like, but you're God. He starts calling him God. He's starting to lose it a little bit.
Yeah.
He's starting to lose touch, but also, you got this superpower. Just save me. Save me. Save me. And he's like, that's not how it works. It's not how it works. You know what I mean? And so, he keeps on saying it. So at one point, Jessie's just like, live. And he's using the word and saying live. So even if that did do anything or could mean anything, I don't think it's what pushed it over the edge. But I just feel like if that's your time to die because your body won't work, that the word's not going to make you continue to live. Yeah. Sure, it works very literally sometimes, but your brain or body doesn't have that kind of control over your own actions, consciously or subconsciously. Mm-hmm. Well, subconsciously a little bit. But anyway, so it's a sad day. That's the story arc for the pilot. We'll say goodbye to the pilot.
I'm gonna miss you, man.
We got to know his name was Steve.
His name was Steve.
His name was Steve.
His name was Robert Paulson.
I was thinking the same thing. His name was Pilot Steve. And in death, he gets a name. This is the theme for Jaga from Thundercats, just in case you were wondering.
I say ye, Pilot Steve.
That's it. That's when we hit the flute. That's when we're done.
Yeah, that was a reference to 1776.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't around then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Dan Evans gets that one.
Dan Evans doesn't listen to this show. Oh, he might. I don't even know. Okay. To be honest with you. Dan, if you're listening, hey, you got a shout out. All right. It's a podcast when there's a Dan Evans reference, I guess?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, live, but he dies. Tulip and Jessie. Tulip is now Tulip and Jesus. See, I did it. Mm-hmm. Tulip and Jesus. Tulip is now she's just like, yeah, I'm just going to storm in. She's just like, screw this. I'm just going full throttle. And and
Jesus is like, no, man.
no, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
There's got to be another way. Featherstone and the men go by. Jesus is like, no, just kneel before me.
Just worship me.
Just worship me. Just worship me. That's what I'm into.
Yeah.
And then that works.
Mm-hmm.
Tulip grabs like the last guy going by, and she's like, well, what's this all about? And that dude's like, he got out. And she's like, dang.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's not verbatim.
Yeah. And they check out the cell. They see the angel's body, all the blood.
Mm-hmm.
And they figure, all right.
And then Jesus is like, what now? And she's like, I'm going to go find Cassidy. He's probably getting drunk already.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, but then what? And she's like, I don't know. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus is like, can I come?
Oh, man.
He needs a friend, I guess.
Oh, man.
As much as it's like, here, folks, here's the not in the book sound effect.
Yes.
You know, the one person who probably should have showed up in the books in a way, but doesn't, is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
All right. And then therefore, like, he's picking the worst set of friends to hook up with.
You know the nice kid in the neighborhood? Like the good, soft-spoken, smart, reads books kid that, you know, you want him to stay on the right track.
Yeah. If any kid was going to go off the rails, don't let it be that kid.
Yeah,
because it'll destroy him.
Yeah. I know that because I was that kid.
Sure. No, I caught all that reference. My eyes went really wide as you were saying it. Like, someone's describing themselves, I believe. But I've also, besides you, because I didn't know you when you were little, but I did know kids like that who were like, I suddenly saw how contrasted I was by their inherent goodness. and realized, I'm kind of like the bad influence in this house, I think. I think your parents would say, don't hang out with that Sweeney kid. Don't bring him around anymore. Meanwhile, like, I had kids I was told not to hang out with. So, like, I knew I wasn't that bad, but, like, to some other parents, I was, I guess.
Well, you know what's weird is, like, I had a weird experience where I had kids, or, like, you know, even, like, in my 20s, there were people I worked with who were maybe like a year older than me.
Sure.
Who didn't feel comfortable cursing around me. And I don't know why that is.
Well, I think you do now a little bit. It's what you're putting out.
But it's the kind of thing where, like, all of a sudden, like, I stub my toe or something, goes, oh fuck, and then
like,
then all of a sudden they give me a look like, whoa, Ed,
whoa,
and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Man, I think that's going to be a lot of Hail Marys you're going to have to say for that. Don't worry, I got my rosary in my pocket.
I guess I give off this vibe.
Well, you do a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't you remember, like, when we first had you on the show a lot, we were like, well, where were you born? Because you don't even... You couldn't have been raised in New York City. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you were like, you spent, like, the first 10 years in Vermont or something. You could have been like, no, I was traveling the country with an evangelical fucking road show, making snakes dance and shit.
No, I think Dom Torrey is still convinced that I'm from Minnesota.
Yeah, well, it'd be until you prove otherwise.
Yes, and watching Fargo didn't help that theory.
No, it definitely didn't. And then now we also found out, like, you were born in Virginia, technically.
Yes.
And then for like 6 months.
Yes.
But anyway, folks. That's not why you're here.
No.
So Jesus wants to know if he can come hang out. But now back to Jessie in the raft.
Yeah.
He's putting the pilot's body to rest.
Yes. Obviously did not see The Kitchen, because there you would have found out that you need to...
Oh, the movie The Kitchen.
Yes, the movie The Kitchen,
yeah.
Where Donald Gleason explains to the ladies there, you gotta chop off all the appendages, and then you gotta make sure that you puncture his lungs. Right. You gotta take a kitchen knife and just stab straight through the lungs. Sure. That way they don't float. Yeah, that way it won't float. Right. So he just sets that
Different situation, though. Jessie doesn't have to worry about anybody finding the body, really.
No,
He's in the middle of the ocean.
Well, it doesn't have to worry very long.
No.
Because that body's, like, floating out there, and you're like...
For, like, a moment.
It's just floating, and then all of a sudden you just see just some kind of fish.
Something's eating at it.
Yeah, you just hear this flurry of water, and then blood just starts spurtling, and
Yeah, so in more dark comedy kind of a thing, like as soon as Jessie tosses the pilot's hat onto the body wrapped up in the sail, like immediately, like the fish get it. Yeah, that's a good one. But as the sharks are eating and Jessie's saying a little prayer over it, all of a sudden we start to hear people. And Jessie turns and boom, he's off the coast of Australia.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, 100 yards from the beach, something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm not good with distance, or math. That includes both of those.
God damn.
Yeah, I'm not good with that. That's my weaknesses. But then basically we get to see a quick little thing of Humperdoo.
Well, Hitler pays off a Grail guard with a Luger.
Yes.
With a vintage Luger.
And to get access.
Yes, and we don't know, is this Humperdoo? Is this the clone?
Well, I think the thing is that's the current clone they have.
Yeah.
And I would presume it's the best model copy that they can muster up. I don't know if it's the original Alpha 1 Humperdoo. Well, no, but I'm guessing it probably is, right?
I don't think it is. I think that Humperdoo is still on the run. They don't know where he is.
Because they showed us them looking for it, but they kept on finding like the defect or the extra defectives, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
And didn't find Humperdoo 1, we'll call it.
Yes.
But I don't know. We might have just missed something that's in there. Because this show will sometimes use inference rather than laying it straight out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's only on a second viewing that you'll catch, oh, that's what that line means. That they're implying that they did this is the one. Yeah. They caught him. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, I'm not sure.
You know, Hitler says, I hear you're very talented. He sits down at the piano and starts playing.
Yeah, starts playing a nice little ditty.
And then it cuts. Yeah,
it cuts. It cuts to Arseface and Santa Killers.
Now they show up.
Now we show them. In the last scene, basically, of the episode.
Yes.
Crazy. So, basically, the Santa Killers cocks the gun.
Yeah, they're at the Gulf of Mexico.
Sure.
And, like, basically, you know, the whole thing with him this season, Santa Killers, he can smell Jessie.
Yeah, basically.
He's
every time Jessie uses the word, Saint kind of gets a direction on where he is.
Yeah, and he follows him, and all of a sudden, they reach water, and he knows he's in Australia, and this is as far as he can go on foot.
Yep.
Or so we thought.
So we thought. But he does a trick we've never seen him do in the comic. So he heats up the hammer of the pistol with his breath and shoots it into the ground, and that bullet bores a tunnel straight to Australia, which they climb through like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, which explains why the show ends with that thing of the whole thing going black, but in a circle and closing in on the raft.
Yes.
But it's the classic kind of cartoon ending thing.
Yes.
I think that they knew that it was a very Bugs Bunny. I think when someone suggested it, they probably said...
That's all, folks.
That's what it should be. It should be Arseface going, that's all, folks. You know? Simplify. Oh, man. That's how they should end the show, right? On the series finale, that's how they should end it.
By the way, can we get Eugene some clothes?
Yeah, this kid, please. We're going to start a Kickstarter. Go fund him.
It's all scuzzy brown.
It's these two pieces of clothing. Like, I don't even know if they really were white when they started, but they are disgusting now.
They look like PJs.
They're as brown as his boots.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they started like that. But, you know, that's on Eugene. I'm just going to say, that's on Eugene.
Yeah,
like, he could have stopped. He managed to get him to stop for a meal. He could have, like, found a way to get some clothing from somebody. And I say the killers could have lent him that big coat, which would be funny. To watch Eugene in this big thing that's like doesn't fit him and it's like dragging behind him.
Yes.
He looks like a little kid trying to sneak into a movie theater stacked on 3 other kids. Like it doesn't fit him right. He's like,
Now,
if you've seen BoJack Horseman, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Now let me ask you. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been on a long camping trip.
No.
Or been under certain circumstances where you might have had to wear the same clothes, or maybe clothes that haven't been through the wash for a couple days.
Right, in the elements. Yeah,
and yeah. I mean, you figure how long Eugene's been in those same clothes.
Oh, that's gross.
That chafing.
That's gross. Well, God bless him. He's only in a pair of boxers and a T-shirt. So if he had jeans on, I would be like, yeah, boy, oof, no bueno. But it's kind of airy. It's not going to bind up too much. He's a lean kid. He probably doesn't get a lot of that going on. But other than that, I'm sure the two of them stink to high heaven. At that diner they went to, I'm surprised it didn't get them kicked out. The waitress, when she came over, should have been like, ooh, you boys need a bath.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really it. That's how it ends. It ends in the cartoonish as the screen zeroes on the raft. And it's one of the more ridiculous things.
Yes.
The whole tunneling to Australia through a bullet hole.
Yeah.
This show just ignores any trying of logic for a bit. Like if we want to just do a bit, logic is just damned sometimes. This fucking show. So you might notice that. I don't think we really hit the bell this week.
No.
I think I only did it as a goof. That's it for my notes. Where do you think we're going? We did see the trailer, so I guess this week we'll talk about that. If you don't want to hear us talk about the preview, I guess skip ahead a little bit. But it does seem like Jesus is running with the gang.
Yeah, he's at least with Tulip, and there was some kind of bank robbery going on, something along those lines.
We get to see Cassidy with his frosted tips, his dye job.
Yeah,
which I'm just going to presume is just he was just looking for a style in the middle of all these things. He just needed felt like he needed to freshen up, I'm not buying it. But this puts us at 4. Next week's will put us halfway through the season. Right? It's 10?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. I know you're right in the middle of the books, right? Well, you're almost near the end of the books. What do you got, like 1 or 2 more of the...
I got 2 left. 2 books left.
2 books left out of the original graphic novel run collected series of Preacher. And, yeah. I don't know. I really got nothing. Like, to telegraph forward now, because that's sometimes what we do here at the end, a little bit of theories or final thoughts. What have you read so far from the books that you haven't seen yet that you would like maybe to see pop up?
Well, I could tell you one thing I just read was Jessie finding his mom.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big thing that's jumping out now.
Yeah, because that's a little fresh on you, so I can understand that.
Yeah. I mean, see, it's weird. It's like I really like that bit in New York where they, where they're chasing that serial killer in New York, but that really makes no sense with anything else that's going on.
It's a left turn for its self-contained own sake.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. A lot of the stories in the books are either directly tied to the current adventure or flashback. There's not a lot of... Well, there are some deviations and some hard left turns, but that's one of the ones that early on feels like, oh, they just kind of... They themselves kind of fell into it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like we kind of missed it. But, Bensonhurst was teased. So, and it's like, even though Cassidy got out, Bensonhurst was still teased as a flash forward. You know what I mean? Unless now we're supposed to think it was some nightmare dream thing or something, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It didn't end like that. It went to commercial. I mean, it went to open credits. Opened with the fake commercial. We saw Bensonhurst, Cassidy getting the machine worked on him. He goes to opening credits. There was no, he woke up from it or anything. So I have to read it as a flash forward. So maybe Tuscany's got family.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
Maybe. Maybe you get to see some of Cassidy's friends in New York, some of his old school connections.
Maybe now that it's late to bring this in, but what if Tuscany's mob family, was promised Cassidy.
Oh.
And now he's got them after him somehow. I don't know. Kind of would have to go back to see, like if he's got the frosted tips in his hair. I mean, obviously it would have to be. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. So anyway, I mean, that's all we got, really. We're closing in at the end of the episode here, folks. Once again, I want to thank Ed for coming and hanging out. Aww. Not a lot of book stuff in this one. But
glad I could be here for moral support.
Oh, man, is that what it was?
I'm here for you, Bill.
Well, I mean, hey, friends to the end of the world and all that good stuff.
Yes.
But the thing is that I think next week I'll have to have somebody else.
Okay.
And I think at this point I got to get a hold of Sarah Netzley and see what her availability is. No promises.
All right.
She's up. It's going to be a rotation.
Cool. We're going to rotate.
I'm going to rotate that lineup until the end of the world. Or until the end of the show, folks. Be here for it. Listen, if you liked it, whatever, let us know. Send an email, pvp@wickedtheory.com, or find us Preach vs. Preach on the Twitters. We'll see you there. We'll see you back here. That's it. Ed.
Peace.